Before the fallen ruled with terror, we watched our families stolen from us. It was their fathers, worse than the Nephilim. That was after they went astray. And with each passing year, their hatred for us grew. As their madness increased, the cries of men reached the heavens.
Do what you will! We will never meet again!
My life means nothing if you don't accomplish the charge of the Almighty, 𝐜𝐨𝐫, for we are one flesh. If you don't return from this, I'll rejoice with you in the heart of the earth.
We will find the power we need. It runs through every breath and creature. This earth is ours.
Welcome. This is Kingdom in Context. I'm Sean. I want to thank you for joining me here tonight. We're going to be interviewing a wonderful couple of Fesiuk Films, and they just put out a wonderful new documentary, and we're going to get into that. But before we do, I just want to say, if you liked the teaser, that is our Days of Noah project that we've been working on, and then we actually have a live active fundraiser going to complete the first season. So it's an animated series about the lifespan of Noah, approximately 700 years of his lifespan before and after the flood. We're trying to release season 1 this year. Episode 1 is going to premiere October 22nd at the end of our Kingdom Crew virtual conference. We're super excited about it, guys. And if this is something that interests you, you can go to our visit daysofnoah.tv. That's where you can actually help out with our fundraiser, or you can become a patron at Days of Noah at the Patreon channel. So big shout out to everyone. We just uploaded a video on the Patreon this afternoon that we did not upload on the YouTube channel. So you get kind of some extra special content on there, as well as imagery, artwork behind the scenes and everything like that. So if you like seeing how things are put together and getting extra content, the Patreon for Days of Noah is an easy way to support us and get some cool content. So I just want to say a big shout out and thank you to all the moderators that are here tonight. Thank you so much for helping keeping everything civil in the chat. Also, thank you for some of the moderators that are also becoming mods in our new Discord. You guys can check out our new Discord, Kingdom in Context. You know what? I probably should have put the link in the video description, but I have not done that yet. So I'll try to remember after the show's over. But ultimately, if you enjoy Discord, if that's where you like to chill, hang out, and talk, fellowship, it's going to be probably a couple weeks before I have enough mods so that I can be in a position where we just have the opportunity for people to do the live voice chats. Like 24/7, because people will be in there 24/7. Like, it's not like a timed thing, right? Just people come and go in the live voice chats. But since I can't be in there at all times, and I'll have to have the moderators that we have, enough moderators to be in there, so that they can make sure that we don't have an invasion of Trinitarians coming in there and just grandstanding for 3 hours in the voice chat. So appreciate all the moderators that are also helping out with the Discord, as well as Facebook. As always, guys, you guys are such a blessing. Holding it down. Such a blessing, guys. I hope you guys realize y'all are doing a form of ministry, whether you realize it or not. And oh, thank you, Miss Mars. It looks like someone put the Discord in there. Tyler did. So if you guys want to go, if you like Discord, want to go find us on Discord, that's where we're at. Kingdom of Context. And I will be in there from time to time doing voice chats and talking with folks. But as you guys know, I'm working on quite a few projects. We're busy. So if I am in there, sometimes I may just be hanging out listening. I won't always be engaging, just because I'll be working. I'll be working. So I won't be able to, if you want to see new content, if you want the study guide finished, if you want Days of Noah coming out, obviously I got a Lighthouse meeting right after this. So we have lots of things that we're trying to accomplish for the betterment of our community and for those who like truth. And so I'm always working. So you guys are super blessing that help us bring all these things to fruition. So speaking of seeking truth, speaking of working very diligently with all earnest efforts, we have a wonderful husband and wife, David and Sarah, that are here with me tonight. I'm going to go ahead and bring them on, and they are want to talk about their new film. David and Sarah, welcome. How are y'all tonight?
Hi guys. Hey.
Awesome.
Nice to have us.
Yeah. So good to see you. Appreciate you guys being on. I think this is your first time on Kingdom of Context. Is that right?
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Awesome. And we met. Was it last year or the year before at Flattoberfest?
Yeah, it was last year.
Yeah, it was last year.
Last October, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, my years are blending at this point. I'm getting old, so I'm trying to keep all my memories categorized. But you guys were talking about this last year. Y'all were putting this together when we met, and you did it. Not only did you do it, you did it really, really well. So
thank you. We appreciate it.
Big round of applause. I'm sorry I couldn't be at the premiere. I'm sorry I couldn't be in it for a variety of reasons, but I do appreciate the invitation. Asked me to be in it, and I because my wife's pregnant, I'm on a travel ban right now, so I couldn't come to the premiere.
Oh, that's okay.
And because she's close to her due date, and but I heard it was a raving success. Tell us about your experience about the premiere.
Go ahead.
Want me to go?
Yeah.
Well, the premiere was awesome. We had over 200 people show up. We had a lot of people that were flat earthers show up, but we also had a lot of people who were not flat earthers that showed up. And after the premiere, we had plenty of testimonies, whether it was phone call, it was in person, just talking about how the movie itself changed their mind. Like there was a couple of people who said that no matter what the movie said, they would not change their mind on believing in the globe. They left the theater changing their minds. Now, I'm not saying they are 100% flat earthers, but they know that there's something, what's the word I'm looking for, but just
something missing,
there's
the government
yes.
not telling the full truth.
Yes. So on top of that, like just seeing everybody there gathered for this movie and stuff like that. I don't know. It was a definite success, just having all the people there and just, I don't know.
It was nice to see like a lot of the cast make it, and that even them being blown away by it, they were excited about it. And
That's awesome.
there was it was really interesting just promoting it around the town, because we didn't get any help from any newspaper or local media. They don't really care about the stuff.
We really, like a couple weeks before the movie, but anyways, a couple of weeks before the movie, we went to different local newspapers, even to the bigger news station out there, and we saw them actually promote a different film. Not just a totally different film. And I'm not going to say what my thoughts are on the topic or how it looked or anything, but the point is they promoted that one. It was just some local small thing or whatever. And they didn't have time to promote what we were talking about. And our film was already finished, and we're not saying that we know 100% because you never know, but I don't know. It is interesting how not one person clung to the topic.
Yeah, we had to. I actually wrote up an article for it myself.
Yeah. And
made event pages on those newspapers because I had to do all the work.
Yeah.
Wow.
I think personally it's the topic matter.
Yeah.
But we don't know for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would suspect that. I mean, obviously I've been studying this topic since 2015, and nothing but suppression has followed this topic, right? So even to the point of having YouTube CEO brought before Congress, and this was one of the points of discussion, was the topic of biblical cosmology. Now we're calling it biblical cosmology on this channel, and obviously you guys refer to it as ancient cosmology, but some people will use the term FE or flat Earth, and that some people have even tried to move away from that term, which is what we've essentially done by calling it biblical cosmology, just because as you review in the video, there is so much of a misnomer, and it's so much of derogatory branding against the concept of a flat Earth, and so some people are even starting to call it true Earth. To
be honest with you, the term biblical cosmology actually can trigger certain Christian faiths. I don't know if you've already known that yet or not.
That's why we do it. I mean,
that's the reason why I think that's part of why we chose ancient cosmology. So it's like we wanted everyone, including like different.
Well, we kind of didn't want to be like a biblical film.
Sure.
I want to be like in between, so anybody can watch it. But there's a lot of biblical.
Well, I like the question mark about it though, because you don't really know 100%, and then you come in and then you're like, okay, I don't know. Anyways,
but we know.
I think you guys did well walking that line, as far as you did include some testimony from people that are biblical cosmologists, as well as those who aren't, but they all have that commonality of understanding. It is not what we were told growing up. Like they're exploring and searching to find the truth of where we live, and it is more consistent with ancient cosmology. And so I think that you guys did a great job walking that line.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's very interesting. I liked a lot of things in the movie, to be honest. I liked obviously the cinematography was beautiful. So I think you're both very, very talented in that regard. So I've seen a lot of bad, cheesy movies, and this was not one of them.
It's good to hear.
So yeah, this was, and I gotta say, I want to commend you both, because I don't know if were y'all co-directing or who was one of you the main co-directing? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I think you did a wonderful job. And look, Shelly, Dave, Matthew Beavers, Josh, I know Josh is in the chat. What's up, brother, from FUB? Please don't take offense to this if you're watching this, but you're not actors. So I think, David, I think you guys did a great job directing non-actors in this thing, in a script that could have been easily given to actors, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that y'all did a wonderful job bringing out a sense of naturalness and realism from non-actors. And, I think you guys did a good job.
Thank you.
When it comes to like the script part, there's only a few moments that are scripted, like a couple of scenes. If you watch it from, you'll kind of understand. But when it came to the flat earth people, we had just a few questions that were scripted, but the responses were all on them. And it was our duty to make sure they sounded clear and it wasn't running on or just
to make sure they asked the question.
And make sure they answered the question.
Or answered the question,
But
yeah.
So I think they did a phenomenal job too.
Yeah, I think they did as well. I want to play the teaser, if you guys are okay with that.
Yeah,
sure,
yeah, so that people can have a quick idea of what we're bragging on here. 1 second, let me get this queued up. And wait 1 second. Why is it doing that? Is it sharing on screen?
I don't see anything.
No,
yet.
It's not.
Yeah.
1 second here. All right. Let's share audio. There we go.
People get lost in the weeds and the stars and everything and trying to figure it out. I say, clear your head, reset, and then look at your world. And you'll realize that nothing will ever lead you to thinking you live on a ball except pseudoscience.
Where's the evidence for the curve? Where's the evidence for the rotation? And then where's the evidence for the revolution around the sun?
Why are we not taught what the ancients believed? Why do we only see this image of a boat going over the edge of some water? Nobody thought that. The Egyptians, the Greeks, the Mayans, they all believed this solid expanse of the sky, the earth was immovable, just like it is in the biblical text.
It just really hit me one day when I was going through the Bible, and it was like the Lord just basically said, who are you going to believe?
How did you arrive to the flat earth theory?
I got into it through sheer conspiracy boredom, believe it or not.
Awesome. Awesome. Yeah. I would love to I'd love to talk to Mark again about I don't know if he's still bored with this or not by now, but I would love to talk to him about one of the questions that popped up in the series, which was how are the eclipses made?
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of a big point of debate amongst some of the community of people searching for these answers. And I do love what Mark Sargent has said in some of his previous broadcasts. I think I may have heard them say this back in like 2017 or whatnot. He was saying most of the people that come against the topic of ancient cosmology or biblical cosmology, they will say, well, show us your map, show us your detailed experiments from this, show us your peer review, show us all these things, things that take time and money that they've had 400 years to produce with all of the world's academia and funding on their side and biased media. And, with the agenda on their side, they can produce all these things that will, one study contradicts another, but they don't care. They just grab the one study that supports their point, and then they look to people that are saying, oh, maybe we do live under a firmament and closed flat circle of earth, and say, well, where's your study? You don't have a study. You know what I mean? And that's where I think Mark said it best. He was like, well, give us time. We'll get our own stuff together. And that's what's been happening over the past, several years. And I was pleased that the video, that your film actually not just included testimony in a unique narrative format of Otto going and seeing all these people, but it also included experiments themselves. I mean, at one point you got, was it Shelley Lewis? She's out there on the beach at night with her camera. So I thought that was pretty fascinating. She was looking at the Ferris wheel. Was that?
Yeah. That was very interesting because the day before we tested it, me and Sarah tested it, and we can see it, but it was a little bit more hazy. That day was super hazy, where you can see the perspective ring. So when you look out in the ocean, it looks like it's curving because it's your perspective showing, because the haze takes that away. And the day we did it that night, it was a lot more clear.
Oh yeah.
So we're praising God for that,
That's great.
Yeah, it was awesome.
That's great. Let me pull this up real quick, because real quick though, while I prep this, how many locations did you guys go to? It seemed like y'all had quite a few.
Yeah, so initially we were planning just to do New York, South Carolina, and Tennessee. And then what happened at the Oktoberfest, we met Mark, and he's like, yeah, I'll do it. And then Dave found out that Mark's doing it, so he was considering it all along, and then he realized that Mark's doing it. So he's like, well, I'll do it too, with reservation. But Mark said, hey, you should reach out to Shelley, and she might want to be involved in this. We reached out to Shelley, and she brought Dr. G and 𝐥𝐤𝐬 on board.
And the brothers brought Matt.
And then the place where we went to instead of those locations was Tennessee. It was Florida, New York City, Seattle, and Los Angeles.
Awesome.
So it's a lot more traveling than we expected. It turned out that it was just enough. Our budget was enough for that.
See, it's best then that I wasn't in it, because you'd had to come to Wyoming, and it's a trip here. Just getting here and getting away from here is a trip from where I live. So it would have been a big increase in budget, I'm sure. But this is beautiful, guys. I want to put this on screen to just ask you, because I thought this opening sequence you guys did, I thought it was great. Very, very creative here. 1 second, sorry. There we go.
Oh yeah.
So this is hey, Josh Keefe is in the live chat tonight. Hey brother, I thought you did great in the film. You did great. So this is from the opening sequence, and this is just kind of some camera visual effects, just working that skill into the presentation of the film itself. Because just to show everyone in the audience, this is one of the images you have, a behind the scenes image you have on your website.
Oh,
and, and so it kind of shows you had this idea of him. It's almost like he was, a detective working a case. He's like he's putting stuff up on the board, and so it goes from this, guys. This is what it looks like in real life. It goes from this to this beautiful scene at the beginning with all the overlays and all the graphics and everything. So. I thought that was really well done also.
Oh, that's cool.
The funny thing about that scene, a reminder, we initially had that just as a beginning intro, or just to show him doing this on kind of like a before the present, like a past tense. But then we realized it didn't really fit anywhere yet. And it just came up that we just put it into the opening sequence for the credits. But we were going to think of cutting it, so we're glad I was able to.
Oh,
don't tell Josh.
Cutting room 4, yeah.
Wait, he's listening.
I think I always wanted it in the credits myself, though.
Yeah.
But yeah.
It's good. It's good.
Yeah.
And then you yourself were in it, Sarah.
Oh yeah, there is actually, we did a scene where it was both of us. David didn't really like him, so
Well, I had like a wrinkled
We-
shirt, and it was like I looked like I just woke up.
well, it's hard when you're filming yourself. Do you know what I'm or like so when we film, if we have to be both on the other side of the camera, there's no one watching for us to make sure that everything's looking clean and good.
Right.
So that was happening. But yeah. And then we also like the idea of if we do just one of us, make it more minimal, because we're not the key part of the whole film. It's Otto and then everybody else. So yeah, I got a little small role in there.
Yeah. And so this here is in the New York City. I guess it was probably just raining by. Did you wait for the rain for this moment, or just film?
We just had to get started. The day
Yeah.
started as soon as we all got. So we have like when you do this kind of stuff, you have a schedule, and as soon as the schedule starts, you go with it because you don't know how much time in the day there's going to be. Especially during that time, the sun was setting at 5:30.
Yeah.
I think it was like 5:30, so it was really early. So we knew we only had so many hours, and then it was going to be dark, and we're just like, well, we got to get going. So it was straight through, all the way through.
And Dave, he'll tell you, he does not like New York.
And the rain.
So it's raining, super rain, like it's so cold, like fingers are getting numb. That's how cold it was. It's like the worst weather where it's not cold enough to snow, but it's like freezing rain. That's like the worst. Like,
Yeah.
that's kind of what was happening there.
Isn't Dave from Connecticut?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He hates
Yeah.
that jacket he has there is actually heated.
Oh,
Huh.
that's
Yeah.
right. I
Yeah,
remember
so
he was probably warmer than us.
Yeah.
Oh, and this scene too was so much like when we first showed up, we had way too much gear in the beginning. We had lugged out all of our gear out of the car, and we're like thinking we're gonna be able to shoot it, but because of the rain and all that stuff, we couldn't even carry the gear anymore. So we had to like what is it called? Like you downsize but think really fast because we knew we were getting ready to shoot in like half an hour. So we figured out what gear we're gonna carry with us. And you're talking carrying umbrellas, carrying your gear, trying to hide the camera, and all of that stuff. And it was
This was the worst.
This was probably the hardest scene to film because of that, because it was so much stuff, and then including umbrellas and trying to
Moving
avoid
around
rain and
and
move around
walking.
and walking. Yeah, but it turned out great. It looks beautiful on film. You know.
I thought it was great too. I was impressed as well as the audio was really clear, in my opinion. Seemed very crisp in spite of the weather and the rain and everything happening. So,
Yeah.
that's the kind of things that I think about when I'm watching this. I'm like, man, how'd they get good audio in this moment? Because they were like walking on a pier and.
Yeah, funny story. We actually took audio away and then added audio, like background noise.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. That's the magic tricks of movie
Take it
making.
when
Huh?
you add it. Yeah.
Makes
You
sense.
take away the bad audio, like you bring good
Yeah.
sound effects audio.
That makes sense. That makes sense. So, guys, everybody, right now, take a moment. If you have, open up a new window on your computer and go to Fesiuk Films. That's FESIUK films.com, right?
Correct.
You were probably one of the first people to actually pronounce our last name correctly. By the way,
Well, you told me, and I think I had to ask you like twice how to say it. So
you're just doing a really good job, and I'm very impressed.
Yeah.
Everyone's always like Fesiuk or whatever. It's no big deal, but it's just funny.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
If you go to FesiukFilms.com, you can go to just a .com, go to narrative, Origins Untold, or go to FesiukFilms.com/Origins Untold, and it's direct link to this page here.
yeah, absolutely. That way, this is where you can watch the movie. You can rent it for 48 hours, I believe. And that way you can also see some of their other movies they've made as well. But this one is the one that I would suggest going to see first and renting this one. It's much more affordable than renting a movie on YouTube. So, or Amazon Prime or something like that. So go check it out. And it is Ancient Cosmology Origins Untold. It's about 119 minutes. Is that right?
Yep.
Yeah, that's right.
About 119 minutes. I thought it was really well done. And let me get back to this real quick though, because there was
No, it's not 119. It's an hour and 19 minutes, which is like
that's right.
80 or 79.
Oh, that's right.
That's right. I didn't
89.
catch that. Good catch.
my bad. Yeah,
79,
hour and 19 minutes. Yeah.
79, yes.
It's about an hour and 20 minutes, and I think
Yeah.
it was wonderfully done. In addition to moments like this, you also had Dr. How do you say his last name?
Oh, this is
It's
where
like Ying Yang.
Ying
Ying Yang.
Yang.
It's
Yin
difficult
Yang.
to pronounce.
Yeah,
before
that's why we all
training.
call him Dr. G.
Dr. Okay, that's
Yeah,
I'll have
it
to do that
became
too.
easier just to.
Dr.
I think
G,
Shelley's the one who started that too.
and he's from Nigeria, and he's
Yeah.
a former scientific officer in the Nigerian space program. Is that right?
Mhm.
Correct.
Now, how did you guys meet him?
Through Shelley.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
she got us connected.
Yeah, Shelley did like a show or like a flat Earth show kind of thing. She's like on her 3rd episode or something like that. And these guys were on her show.
We kind of previewed them. Well, first their names were listed to us, and then we went on the show and we watched it, and we're like, oh wow, these guys have knowledge. They look like they're going to fit the part. Let's do this. I mean, after Sean had to cancel with us, so we had to find somebody else.
Well, we kind of what we're looking for. So our intention for this documentary is, there's a lot of documentaries that give a lot of information. We didn't want to overblow anybody with so much information. We wanted it. The mindset I had was, how would I tell this to my grandma who's never heard about flat Earth? And they need credible people who are not just YouTubers, right? But like have some kind of what the world would say credible or educated, And so we're looking for that, and as well as people who spoke well or had like, but yeah, that was kind of our reasoning to pick certain people.
Yeah.
In the documentary, and then we had some people who said they couldn't do it. So we're like fighting 2 little things. People are like, I don't want to do it, or I'm afraid to do it, or I can't do it. Like you couldn't do it because you had a lot of reasons. So it was fighting that line, but we're happy that we got some people who are educated.
Yeah. That was actually one of the things, kind of at the end with the pool table scene, where they're, the skeptic friend is asking Otto, were these crazy peoples, and he was kind of defending the people he had met on his journey, and like they're just normal people and everything. So I thought that was unique to put in there, that sense of like social pariah, that addressing the social pariah of it all, right? So I thought that was cool. I thought that was a friendly element to put in there towards the people that understand this information and have woken up to the deceptions, because most of the time, like the several years ago, the Netflix hit piece that came out that basically just made people in that community, they tried to make them look silly. So I think you guys did a great job in being friendly to them, and I think that will be greatly appreciated by the people that watch this. So there's
we
also
didn't want to preach at people. We want them to like go along on a journey, and then themselves with Otto kind of, let me look into this. That's the whole point. And right now, after so many people watched it, there's people who weren't for flat Earth, and they're now thinking, I really need to look into this because there might be something here. And that was the whole point. It's the whole premise. Well,
the biggest thing, like even when we were deciding on the creation of this, we didn't want it to be just a flat Earth film. So what's the point if it's just for flat Earthers? We wanted it to be a film that bridges the gap. It also opens the door so that if you are a glober, you can watch it and it's not going to be so overwhelming, like right off the bat, So, but yeah.
Yeah, and even though most of it was on a very much conversational level that anyone can follow, there was a few moments where you got to actually include some numbers, what I thought was some well done overlays as far as some of the raw data that people might want to consider that are clinging to what we've all been taught from a supposed scientific or mathematical standpoint. The guys out there that believe math is reality. Those guys, so like you even had a moment where the good Dr. G is going over a little bit of math for some people. Yeah. And you guys did, I think it was good because it wasn't overwhelming.
Yeah.
Yeah. So in case you're worried about that, guys, this isn't going to be a complicated breakdown on trigonometry or basically there's a little bit put in there, but it flies by pretty quickly because it's just adding to the point of the discussion that's happening. It's not like it delves off into a whole breakdown and a lecture over, complicated physics and curvature math or anything. Yeah. But Jay Tolan, you guys got him in there. That's wonderful. And if people in the audience aren't familiar with Jay Tolan, check him out as well. Taking ridiculously long distance photography through infrared, both from airplanes and from on the ground. And he needs to come out to Wyoming because he'll get like 500-600 miles with his infrared, I'm sure. Yeah, because it's like huge mountain ranges in between large flat valleys. And so you can just see, like, it's not like Colorado. It's a little different. So he'd probably have a great time out here. Josh knows. I showed Josh. We went to a peak when he came to visit me this summer. We went out to a peak nearby our house. And
did you guys hike it?
No, it's a place you can drive up to. It's about 9,500 feet. And you can see, 40 miles away across the valley where I live, there's a mountain range with peaks that go up to 12,000 feet, and then behind that is a whole nother mountain range, and then 100 miles to the left is a whole nother mountain range inside Colorado, and then like you can just see forever.
Mhm.
And it's all of it should not be able to be seen if we lived on a ball that had a radius of 4,000 miles. So it's very interesting that Jay Tolan here, even with his small camera, is able to look 120 miles down the shoreline. At about, what is he, like maybe 40 feet off the ground. So
it's about, I'd say 90-ish feet, give or take. I was more generous with the numbers. I made it higher than what it actually was, for because you know how people are. He wasn't actually 90, whatever. So I was being more generous. Yeah,
it's good though, and that's the wild part, is if people aren't aware of this, because obviously the powers that be censor Jay Tolan's videos, but I mean he has photography from airplanes looking out over multiple states, like over 1,000 miles, which is absolutely would be impossible even at 30,000 feet. So because the math that most people don't like to do, but if you once you do the math, you start to realize that when people say, "Oh, why can't I stand on the beach in Los Angeles and see China?" And you're like, well, there's a couple reasons, but what we can see with the camera, with infrared, is mathematically impossible on the ball Earth that they've told us we lived on. Right. And so I thought that was really cool to include this segment in the film.
It's cool.
Yeah. And then our brother Matthew, he was in there rocking this awesome shirt. And I thought this was interesting. And he also talks about some of the financial. This is a big question that a lot of people, and the reason I'm going over some of this stuff is for the audience watching, as far as like, why should this video be seen by everybody and shared to friends and family, because it addresses some of the big questions that people have about when the first time they hear this, they have all these initial knee-jerk questions. And just like, Dave Weiss says when he was talking about his app, on the subway, which I thought was a cool shot. Did you guys have to get like special permission to film on the subway?
No.
Yeah, sure.
Sure you did. Okay. We'll just say you did.
Public. That's public.
When it comes to like public, I believe that's public, so you can film.
That's true. That's true.
I know in North Carolina, you can film anywhere in the public street, and
that's true.
Public, so.
Yeah, I just didn't know, New York City has turned into a full-on communist state, so I just didn't know exactly how that went down. But
actually, New York was pretty normal when we went, though. I know that
normal.
It seemed normal. I guess we're not looking for the bad, though. It's out there somewhere, though.
Well, we were in the tourist areas. So
yes.
Okay. Makes sense. But this is a big question that you guys included in the film that I thought was poignant, that needs to be talked about. Not only is in Matthew's segments is he talking about the firmament, some of the scriptural passages, bringing the Bible into this, but he also mentions the big question people ask is why? Why would they lie about something like this? Why are we even making this film? Why are people talking about it still? Why is millions of people still researching it online? What motivation would they possibly have? Well, $24 billion a year seems like proper motivation.
Yeah.
So that you guys definitely covered that a little bit. Here's one of the graphic overlays I talked about. This is chronologically out of order, but I just thought it would be good to include this because this was just something that, it gets people thinking. It's a very simple graphic. I thought it was well done. And hopefully it gets people thinking about, wait a minute, something's not right here. It reminds me, it's really far, right? There's a lot of missing curvature. It's like over 1.7 miles of missing curvature. Like that's an issue, right? And so it can force you to start to say what's going on here, because ultimately it reminds me of this.
Say, hold up, wait a minute, something ain't right.
Because you shouldn't have 8,000 feet of missing curvature from a camera that anyone can probably buy, at Best Buy.
Yeah.
So I just thought this was a wonderful inclusion into the film. This lady on the subway, not only is this a perfect framing that you guys did, because it's like Dave is just scooping truth into her brain from this angle right here.
So when we were filming on the subway, I know there are people listening to our conversations. We even talked about it when we left. You know what I'm saying? No one said anything. It was actually strangely very quiet. We were the only ones. Well, we weren't talking, but they were the only ones talking. So everyone else, if they didn't have the earbuds in, they were definitely listening.
I used to live in New York for like half a year, and I ride the subway all the time. It was eerily quiet in this ride, which is a good thing for
It
a
was
film
good for
and for
filming.
people to listen to what they're talking about.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
She was definitely listening. She has like a visceral reaction at this moment. That's why I screenshot this moment here, because this is when she was like, wait, what are they saying?
He has
Because
no
of
idea
course,
she's in a film.
yeah. I mean, obviously Dave is always making good points. So yeah, I thought she was very much listening, and it was very obvious. And Dave was just, you know, gonna have someone else download his app right after they left that scene.
That's funny, dude.
Yeah, it was good. Good little moment there. And then you got Josh in full-on teaching mode. So the star of the show from Founded Earth Brothers, Josh Keefe, doing his full-on lecture. So was Josh hard to work with? Is he just a total
Absolutely.
diva?
Yeah. They wanted, well, his brother was okay, but he was the worst. They were wanting certain types of foods. They wanted drinks.
They really
Right.
wanted Subway sandwiches.
Did they want a bowl of M&Ms with all the red ones taken out?
No, those blue ones.
Yeah.
Retract all the blue ones immediately post haste.
That's funny.
That's funny. We love you, Josh. Josh said the fame got to me. The fame got to me.
That's so funny, man.
Well, he's
Yeah.
wearing a lot of bling these days. Have you seen him recently?
No, I haven't.
Yeah, he's got his necklace, you know, and his couple bracelets and his
I was gonna say-
Rolex.
I think he wants to
iced
look
out
like
grill?
Otto.
Yeah.
Well, last
Yeah,
time I talked to him.
What was
Otto's
Otto's
got
necklace?
style, huh?
So
What was Otto's necklace reminded me of that medallion on Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Yeah, so he's been on this very unique kick where he's been reading Book of Enoch and looking into Native Americans, tribes, and all this kind of stuff. And so because of that, he got himself a Mayan thing that he really wanted to wear.
All right.
But
Well, hey, yeah, if you know how to get in touch with him, I'll send him my free book of Enoch that I did with all the commentary.
Oh, that's cool.
actually
Yeah.
not a bad idea. He
That's
might
really
really
cool.
like that.
Yeah, he might like it. And especially it'll help him kind of cross-reference some of the Bible as well, and keep it all in context, because yeah, there's so much biblical cosmology in the Book of Enoch. I mean, it's literally the handbook for where you live. Is Enoch was shown for 10 whole chapters. He's breaking down from as a prophet of God, as the New Testament says that Enoch was a prophet. That prophet received visions of heaven and the earth and how it works. There's even a unique passage in Enoch that talks about, and it depends on the translations, but it talks about these world stations. And it's unique because he's like, he went to this end of the firmament area and he saw these world stations. And some translations will call it like these devices. And I'm like, what? And they had some sort of integral part in how things are happening in the heavens above, because the sun, moon, and stars move in a circumference according to First Enoch, and they have the sun has its own tabernacle, which is like its own little chamber, its own house that it's in according to First Enoch. And so it makes you wonder, like, what is it creating a sense of electrostatics up there? Is it creating a sense of motion with it? I mean, what is going on here? But it makes perfect sense from an engineering standpoint, just like you guys wonderfully drew out the illusion of the air pressure in the pop bottle, right? Even all the way until the very end. And just the basic second law of thermodynamics, that pressure will always try to equalize itself. And so when you look at what we've been told, living on a ball with no barrier, and we've got this vacuum, this infinite vacuum of space at supposedly negative 14 psi, you're like, how in the world do we have an atmosphere still? How is anything alive on this planet if physics and science is what we've learned in even just in high school? You know, you don't have to get advanced math. I actually had several years ago, I was in one of my jobs I was working at, it's like 2016, and a guy come in and I'm interacting with him throughout the course of the sale, and he tells me that he's a professor of physics at a nearby college. And so I asked him, I was like, hey, quick question, just random wild question. Have you ever heard of any experiment in all of academia where they took one of those vacuum chambers? And he's like, yeah. I was like, all right, well, they took a little vacuum chamber and they put a ball inside of it, or like a sphere inside of it, and then spun the sphere inside the vacuum chamber and then had water stick to that sphere in that vacuum chamber. And he looked at me and he goes, well, son, that's impossible. And I was like, it is, right? It is impossible. I was like, so why are they telling us that that's what we live on? And he just went silent. He had no answer.
Because
he never thought of it before.
When it comes to like this kind of stuff and evolution, I feel like it's either you've been so indoctrinated that you believe this, there's no, or you don't have any not common sense, but logic, because it's illogical, those things.
It is.
It's kind of mine too.
Yeah, and so I think that there's a lot of wonderful things done in this film that I think people need to go watch it. It's called Untold Origins Ancient Cosmology, but it's not just a history class on ancient cosmology. You guys do include images from ancient cosmology, and you're bringing forward what I thought was really well done. You brought forward the ideas of ancient cosmology as people are kind of rediscovering it, as they're realizing something's not right with what we've been told. And so there is a few moments where you do show depictions of different types of ancient cosmology. And I think this was during one of Matthew Beaver's segments. So it's important for people to see, because this is not a new idea. It's just which concept would you like to believe is what I always put forward to people, because the ancient world, we've done on another channel, West Plays Music, where I do a show. We're in season 2 now. It's called Uncommon Ground, and it's all about biblical cosmology. And we have, we did a whole episode on ancient depictions of an enclosed earth, and they all taught it. They all understood it. They all, it was only until 400 or 500 years ago the narrative started to change. And what's wild is that it changed before anyone ever had any pictures from space, supposed pictures from space, any photoshopped images from space. It changed before all that came up, right? So it's not like they discovered something and then started realizing, oh, we live on a ball in space next to an infinite vacuum, but can't feel it. Like they never, it just basically became a narrative change. It became a change as in what they're teaching children at a young age, not exactly there was some grand discovery. So as a result of that veneer that was given is easily peeled away the moment people start questioning, why did all the ancient cultures believe that we lived in some sort of enclosed environment? And that the gods lived either in the sky or the celestial, depending on, like, if you go to the Babylonians, the Greeks, they talked about the gods, the archons that lived in the sky above. The sublunary world is what they would call it, the cosmos kratos. But then above the actual heaven, which the Egyptians called Nut, that's where the quote unquote celestials lived, right? The even older gods. So, and then over time in Egypt, they tried to change the narrative, but from the 18th BC dynasty going forward, they tried to change the narrative to Ra being the supreme god who overcame the god that created him, which we've talked about in Kingdom of Context is basically just Satan. Satan trying to lie to people and say that he's the ultimate god when he's not. And so they all believe, though, in this idea that we lived in some sort of enclosed environment, and it's only a narrative change. It's not been a scientific discovery change. It's only a narrative change. And that's where, the average person will start saying, well, but what about space? But what about NASA? This is why this is a fun film, guys, because they cover this stuff in the film. These knee-jerk questions that come out, right? Not every single one of them, but within, an hour and 19 minutes, they do a great job covering some of the really, really strong ones. So did you guys, what was your process like as far as, I make FE content. I've studied FE content. There's a ton of stuff out there to choose from. So how did you guys whittle down your process into what you put in the film?
Well, I knew for me, I wanted to show we see too far, and that's just a huge one. That's all you need. You need one proof, the fact that you see too far, and that's it. That's all you need. So I want to make sure that was there, and I wanted to show some experiments that are easy to do, and that's why the thermodynamics one was there. But we're wanting to have the people in it to show let them bring stuff forward and just go from there. Because you can kind of, depending what kind of documentary you do, you kind of can control how it goes, but at the end of the day, you gotta get all the footage and then make the story. And that's kind of how we had to do it.
Like when the first time we cut down the film, it was over 2 hours long. Like, was it 2 hours or 3 hours?
2 hours. Yeah.
It's like definitely over 2 hours long. And I remember there's a lot of other information, but it's like any kind of storytelling thing. You have to figure out what is the most important thing that you're going to share here. You know, is this other stuff you're going to share, is it going to actually add to the information, or is it going to take away or take you down like another path or something? And that's how we condensed it down. So there's other things, but it just, all the information you saw there, this supported the whole story, and it actually fit as a story.
Yeah, some of the conversation veered off flat Earth to
Yeah.
different things, but we want to make sure it was just flat Earth only.
Yeah.
Just keep the audience focused on this one topic
Mm-hmm.
and make it easy to consume for them.
Mm-hmm.
That's great. Yeah, there's so much to discuss. I'm sure. Are you guys going to use any of that footage for future projects? The footage that you scrapped?
I don't know about
I
future.
don't know.
Yeah, there'll be new footage, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, we can always give it to someone and have them edit it down and run their stuff.
Well,
We'll
you
see
know
what
how.
happens. You never know.
Yeah. You know how like people will do the whole cutting room floor behind the scenes footage type stuff. So I didn't know if y'all were trying to offer that, or if y'all had that in mind at all.
We do that. We'll like hire someone.
Yeah,
for
it just
very
takes a lot
small
of
amount.
time, and
Yeah.
I need money for that time. So it's like,
Yeah, because we're still like, I don't know where your direction is with things with like your series that you're doing, but our goal is to just do films and movies in the future and not do side jobs, and that's what we do right now. So like this film that we just did, I didn't know it was going to take so long. We're still working on it. Like we were still working on it, and all the post-production stuff was still happening and still happening, and then on top of it, we're trying to finish our little side jobs that actually pay the bills.
producing it is,
It's been
more
crazy.
work than I thought.
It is
a
a
new
lot.
experience.
Especially on the back end. Like, for example, the reason why, if you go to the site, you're going to see it's $5.99. The reason why it's like that, why we have it paid right now, is because we talked to a film consultant, and he was telling us that especially this topic is very fringe, to get a distributor on board, you want to show that there's an audience, paid audience.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's why we have it paid right now. And then we're going to use all those numbers to pitch the financial idea to distributors, because we want this film to go out to the globe people who don't never heard about it or don't like it or seen the other documentary. So we want to get as far distribution as possible. To do that, we got to show that there's a viewership, that we're going to want to watch this. So I was trying to figure out where I was going with that.
Well, he said that to us, and the other flip side of what he said to it too is like, you guys do this to get an amazing distributor, but on the flip side, like if we find someone that doesn't want to help with anything with it, but they take all the money, the percentage that you guys are making, you can put towards your other films or your series that you're wanting to do it. So by paying for it, they're actually helping investing into our future projects too. Yeah. So it kind of ended up working out, because we were never intending on doing this kind of release. We wanted it to be released on all platforms, but just outside of YouTube. Like YouTube could potentially be a platform, but the problem with it being stuck there is YouTube just kind of crunches it down, and the only people who see it are all of us, and you don't really have that many like Globers out there watching it.
Yeah, we're trying to reach like Netflix or Amazon.
Yeah, I'm talking big channels,
bigger companies, and for them to accept something like this, that it's, people don't want to show. They need to see the numbers, and then they might consider it. But then again, we have our Father, who is on our side with this. And
I hear that. I guess we had that initial thought with Days of Noah, as in, do we want to pitch this to people like Netflix or Amazon or Hulu, people like that, and I refrain personally, because I know that they can just create a contract to where they can shelf it if they want.
That's the thing. You got to have somebody on board that you can make sure they don't do that. Like there's, criteria for us is you can't touch it, you can't edit it, and you can't shelf it, because they can chop it up and make us look dumb.
Right. Yeah.
And so you got to have those, clauses in the contract. And if they don't accept it, then you move on. I remember you were telling, I was watching one of your streams where you're talking about how you were trying to, I think you're doing a book or something like that, or an animation a while back, and you're getting all these crazy offers, and they're like, oh, I want to change it up. Blah, blah, blah.
It was the book, the trilogy of books that is now being adapted for the Days of Noah series. And they wanted rights to not just distribution of the first and the sequels, of the trilogy, but also the characters. It's crazy because like they don't just want your finished product; they want to be able to tinker with your finished product and change your story, change your character's outcome and their plot lines. And I thought that was just the craziest thing I'd ever heard. I was like,
Wild.
yeah, I'm like, but that's the gatekeeping that you run into out there is that they will, you know, I've heard about actors talking about they didn't take a role because they were so upset with all the agenda being forced into certain scripts after they had signed off and had all the actors get their contracts and everything, and then suddenly, oh, we got a script change, you know, and it's like that just seems so shady.
Just a side note, we did a 48-hour film festival, and in the 48-hour film festival, they kind of show you how that works. So they give you criteria, they give you character names, they give you what their work is or whatever, and then they tell you put a prop in there. And when you're doing this, you're like, it doesn't matter, you're just trying to make this film. But that's how they train you to in the Hollywood world to get funding. They say, oh, just put this globe in the background. And the person who's designing the place, they don't really care, it's just a globe. But they don't know the agenda, so they'll do that kind of stuff. They'll just make sure, just to get your funding for the film, they're like, oh, these are the criteria you got to match. And if you watch movies today, you're gonna see one or two globes, maybe a one eye or owl or space. What else do they have there? And you'll sometimes have an obelisk. There's one film we saw, there's two globes and an obelisk in the background in one shot. And then another movie we saw, there's 4 globes on this table. Who needs 4 globes on a table? It's crazy.
It's like they're doing it's like they're comparing, different sizes of globes. It's like a garage sale for globes. This is I know exactly what you mean. I was just sending a picture to my wife a few days ago about this new movie that's being made that's coming out soon by Zack Snyder. It's coming out on Netflix called Rebel Moon. And talk about putting some props in there, putting some sort of something in there, like the imagery that they continue to put into these films over and over again. Like we, for all of those who have seen our Investigating Babylon series and our 42 series, we've got, abundance of evidence showing that they continue to put spheres into movies and specific types of spheres with specific plot lines.
Yeah, the Dragon's Lair.
Yeah, it's wild. And of course, hundreds of millions of dollars is going to that movie we just saw, Rebel Moon, that's being in production, or it's a series, or no, it's a movie or a series, or I don't know, but either way, it's going to be it's the new Star Wars is what they're promoting it as. And so it's just it's such a challenging industry to thrive in, and this is why I'm really happy to see that you guys did get the film made. And I do want to direct folks, if possible, please go to their website at FesiukFilms.com, and you'll be able to see ways that you can help them continue on their journey and help create more amazing films like this one in the future. So they have a current crowdfunded opportunity for everyone to be involved and help them raise the money. So what do you guys vision with something like this? If you guys can talk on this a little bit.
What is it? What was the question though? I didn't quite understand. Our vision?
Just the vision. Because I watched your special announcement on the website, and you guys talked about wanting to create almost a series.
So our goal, we talked to Otto about it. When we first created the title Origins Untold, it was supposed to be just Origins Untold Ancient Cosmology. And then we got an idea through Otto, even himself, because he loves researching things. He's like, well, how about we make this into a series and we dive into other things? And one of the other topics we want to talk about is just giants, you know, and there's other topics that are also in the Bible we wanted to do. We want to have Otto actually do more of
investigative.
Because of what he learned from this movie, you're actually following his life further, and he's going to be more of an investigator on these other topics. And he's going to be traveling around doing the same thing, but it's going to be more looking at these locations. Where can you find giant bones? That's what, you know what I'm saying? We're going to kind of dive deep into that, and other interesting topics. I don't want to say them all because it's supposed to be the surprise of the series, how it's going to be synchronized.
Okay.
But yeah, it's more biblical topics that are kind of hidden under the surface. No one knows about.
Yeah,
we want to kind of open that back up again.
But it all depends, it's either going to be that series if we can raise the funds for it, or other projects that we have. There's one that we want to do.
We already have 2 film ideas.
Yeah, one is
and one that we've already started writing.
a biblical character that is pretty much about before his younger life, before he became an adult, and the stories we hear in the Bible. So it's more of the extra books. And our idea is to shoot like a scene of that and then pitch it to one of these networks, either like Angel Studios or 𝐦𝐤𝐬𝐿, one of those people who are okay with doing Christian movies.
Interesting.
Yeah. So it all depends on how much we can raise. It's a very fluid situation.
Yeah, it is very fluid. I mean, that was how it was with this one though too. I'm sure you've heard the story through the Brothers channel, how we got funded for this one. I don't know. Did you hear about how we got funded for this one?
I did not. Yeah, share with us.
So, I mean, I'll say minimally, and you can just add to it, but like we pretty much got funded within 24 hours overnight for this one project. One person decided they believed in us enough to make this happen. And we didn't know it for over a month that we already funded, because once we got the check, we kind of just tucked it away. And we told everyone, we're like, okay, if we don't get funded for this thing, we're just going to give you all of your money back, because there's no point in it, at that time. You say,
and so we were going to go live with the Brothers. And the night before we went live, I had a dream. And in my dream, we got fully funded overnight. I wake up. Awesome. I told her, I was like, yeah, I had this dream that we got funded overnight. We'll see what happens.
We'll see what happens.
And then we went live that night, and then we got an email that same night saying, hey, I'm sending you a check. I don't want any credit. I just want you to put God's name, his real spelling, Yahweh, or Yahoo, whatever, 𝐦𝐤𝐤, the symbols, whatever.
Yeah.
And that's it. And then we're like, okay, cool. I'm glad she is, donating. And then we got the check later, and I misread it. I read 3,200, and so we stashed it. And we're like, well, let's see if we can make this happen. Let's see if anybody else donates. And then we're sitting on it for a month. We went to the Flat Earth Fest and talked to everybody, still believing that this might happen.
We didn't have all the money. We only had that little bit, like it was like 2,000 in Indiegogo, and that was it. And keep in mind too, just so you know, we had we're all about mindset. So when we realized that there's this potential that God's not going to fund this, we're like, okay, you know what? That means that this is not what he wants us to do. So we're going to work towards the next film idea that we have, so we weren't going to stop there. We just knew that, maybe this is not the one that God wants to work with us, So I don't know if I would add to that, but yeah.
And so, we ended up opening a bank account for the Origins Untold. And like, well, we need to put money in there, or else they're going to start charging us. So we decided to grab that check and deposit in there. And then the teller, she's like, oh, there's a lot of money. You're going to have to, it's going to take a few days to get your money back. And I was like, in my head, I was like, 3,200 is not that much. Why is it going to take a few days to recoup the money to withdraw or whatever? And then she brought the receipt back, and I saw it. And I read 32,000. It's like, what? So I was holding the receipt, and I walked to the manager's office to open a online banking. I'm just looking back down on that receipt. I'm like, 32,000. Something's off. So I went back to the teller afterward. I was like, there was another lady there. I was like, I think the other teller added a zero to that check. And so she brought it out, and it was 3,200, exactly the amount we were asking on the live stream. And, the dream we believe was from God now, because
that's awesome.
True. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That is awesome.
It's not the only dream that's coming true. We've had dreams, and on the same night, the same kind of dream. And there's a lot of different stories where God would use that, and like a prophetic dream. But that's a different story.
It's a really cool story.
Yeah.
All of us have gifts that God gives us, and that's one of them.
Yeah, that's one of those stories where you don't mind sharing your own personal oversight because it worked out for the best. So it's like, you're like, wait a minute, I thought this was 3,200. That's amazing. Yeah. So well, that's good to hear. I mean, it is possible like that, because people are funding The Chosen, and your guys' cinematography and your storytelling is on the same par, if not better, than The Chosen. I mean, you guys are doing great. At least what I saw, I thought it was wonderful, considering the material that you're working with, and it's not a fictional concept, but you're bringing real life. It's a nonfiction that you're bringing into a narrative, in order to make it entertaining, and not just a documentary slideshow. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because you see a lot of those. Have you guys considered? I know, the big YouTube is not always on the side of this topic, but have you guys considered promoting it on YouTube itself?
You mean with like an ad or something?
Mhm.
What is that?
So
Just
that's a
like our
no.
trailer promoting, you're saying, or?
Yeah, the reason why I say that is because I actually have recently spent a couple $100 trying to promote my Investigating Babylon presentation, and it went
Mhm.
from 10,000 views to 244,000 views.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's awesome. So
Yeah.
I considered doing that. My intention is for not right now. It's more for when we're ready to release it to the masses. I want to do certain advertisements on YouTube or get those YouTube channels that show trailers,
Mhm.
pay them to put it on their YouTube to get it to the globe people. That's my intention. But,
Mhm.
Sure.
but that's more in the future, you know, when it's
So the reason I say that is because you guys know how YouTube works, I'm guessing, whereas they show you the impressions that your video gets versus the
Oh,
actual
yeah.
views.
yeah.
So like if you're
Yeah.
not getting if you're not getting impressions on your video, they're not sharing it to anybody. They're not recommending it to anybody. And they've done this on purpose because now they're allowing us in our studios behind the scenes to pay them money to promote the videos.
Yeah.
And so I thought, man, this seems like I don't like this because I feel like they're going to suppress you with an algorithm so that you don't grow organically, but you
Yeah.
can pay to get average. And so when I tested it, I was like, all right, well, let's see how many impressions they can give me on, a few $100. And they gave me a lot. And I
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
extremely surprised. And the click-through rate, which is means that people see your thumbnail and they actually click on it to watch it when it's
Yeah.
and it's recommended to them. That was strong as well. And so just one option. I'm just sharing all available options to help you guys get out there, especially if someone, one of the large distribution people, don't pick it up immediately. You may be able to distribute it yourself with some of the overflow capital coming in.
Well,
That's our final.
That's our final goal is
last step. If nobody
Yeah.
else to pick it up.
Yeah, and that's okay.
But
I'm
what we're
be
gonna
there
get
for
out
too.
there is like our goal at the end is to get as many people to see it.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
if it's just on YouTube, you can get lost here. Like
Right.
circle around just the flat earth people watching
Mhm.
it. We want people outside.
And although it is
But-
for flat earth people, but it's like a supportive film for flat earth people. Like we were saying, like our initial goal when we created this idea of this film is I want to reach to people that haven't heard of this topic or maybe triggered by this topic, but in a way, in an approach where they'll actually listen. Because, like I know there's other documentaries out there about flat earth and stuff like that, but if you're going to come at it in a certain direction where there's like anger or annoyance or you're belittling somebody, they're less likely to listen to what you have to say, and that this comes with the example of us as believers living in the fruit of the spirit. What does that look like? If we live in that, in the way we talk, that means the spirit is speaking through us. And hopefully that's what's going to open people's eyes, even through the film.
Yeah.
So that's kind of our approach. But yeah, and you know all about that. So
Well, yeah. You know,
Yeah.
the funny thing is you were talking about suppression. Facebook's been doing that for years now. I remember, if you want to post something on your wall, none of your friends see it anymore. So you got to put an ad just for those same people who are your friends to see it. It's just,
it's
such
horrible.
a big money monopoly.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's where, I know that I've talked about this for a couple of years. It's been a big project in the works, but creating something like Lighthouse to where you won't have to worry about that stuff anymore. And you can actually have organic reach again. And that's where we're just, they're really close. I know people want a definitive timeline from me, but because I'm one of the consultants on the project, I just can't give out that knowledge because they've got their whole marketing system going. They got their plans as well, and so they're trying to make it as top notch as they can make it since they decided to not rush it and just do it the way they wanted to do it. So I think people are going to be super happy, and I want to encourage you guys too, because who knows before the end of the year you could have a whole nother platform, not only a way to find organic reach, but a way to the way that I recommended they build some of the partner programs for content creators is that you can actually reach out to other content creators. Like tonight, if we were doing this on Lighthouse, all of my subscribers would have instantly been notified of your channel and your video and this connection that we were doing, as well as they could be watching the purchase of your film in my store, because we can manipulate how, if you have products to sell and you're a guest on my show, those products can be present in my store for your benefit.
Well, that's pretty sweet.
Yeah.
No, it's amazing, right? So like, yeah, it's coming, guys. I promise you, better is coming.
We've been waiting. I mean,
I know.
I've been like looking at updates too. It's like,
I know, man.
all right, Sean, tell us some
if I could
more.
snap my fingers, but there's things out of my control. But ultimately, that way you can not only get organic reach, but you can just be rest easy. You can breathe deep, knowing that you're not being suppressed. That's the bigger issue.
That's actually how I discovered you. Was you
Really?
were on one of, I think, Globebusters talking about Lighthouse, and then I kind of looked into your. I was like, oh man, this guy follows Torah and everything. It was pretty cool. And
Yeah,
then
I'm not a shill, not a government paid Masonic industrial complex shill like people try to call me.
And then I did like a whole binge on investigating Babylon. That was
Cool.
really
What'd you
cool.
think about that?
I like a lot of it. The conclusion, I consider it, but I just don't see.
Can't get on with it yet.
No, it's not even that. It's pretty much saying that the horror of Babylon is that. When I see it was
No, that's not what we. Sorry, I'm sorry, go ahead.
not horror Babylon, but Mother Babylon.
Mother Babylon. That's right. Yeah.
And
Mother
if I look at like this like Revelation where Jesus, it says that the Son of Man is where he was crucified. That's the horror, and it kind of, if you kind of look at where this is Babylon, Great Babylon, the harlot, and then it says that great city. It's all like synonymous to that one place.
Sure.
Kind of I see it as Jerusalem.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, I still, me and Sarah will look like, oh,
so
maybe that the dragon in the sky still is up there.
Yeah,
I don't want to give it away for people because it's kind of.
No, it's okay. My audience has all seen it.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah. Besides the similar use of the word "great" in Revelation that you just mentioned there, what would you consider as far as the historical and modern day evidences I tried to bring forward as far as there is possibly something causing the eclipse that's not natural?
No, so for me, it's not that I'm more on board that it's there, but the name of it correlating as the great city, that's the difference. So if you just
that's okay.
Instead of saying, oh, these are the same thing, it could still be his house, the dragon's house, but it doesn't have to necessarily have to be the horror Babylon or not, but Mother Babylon. That's the difference.
Okay. Yeah.
You talked about this at Flattoberfest,
yeah,
right?
It was a condensed version.
I did.
But
Yeah.
I was actually the first time I ever heard of it. And I thought it was really cool. I remember telling him about it.
Yeah. It's only, to me, it's like, it's hard. Well, let me get my thoughts real quick because I do want to give you guys another props for including some of Matthew Beaver's conversation where he talked about the New Jerusalem as a biblical proof for we don't live on a ball in space, and that we must live in an enclosed environment as the Bible describes, because he talks about it coming down out of heaven, and the nature and size and dimensions of it wouldn't fit on a ball earth, nor is none of the story congruent with the New Jerusalem coming down out of heaven. And so I thought that was really, really good to see in the film. I was super, super cheesy and grinning at that point. But I was like, wow, they actually left that in. That's amazing. Because ultimately, guys, I've tried to reach out to people and say, hey, would you like to talk about, my Investigating Babylon series? It goes over history, it goes over modern deceptions. I talk about Jesuits. I mean, we talk about all kinds of stuff. I talk about science and technology. I talk about FE. I talk about what possibly is causing the eclipses, because that's a huge question amongst the FE crowd, is like, what caused eclipses? Hey, I have an idea. Would anybody like to talk about it? Nobody wants to talk about it.
Wow.
Yeah.
So this is where I'm like, what's going on, guys? Where's my FE brethren at? Where nobody wants to talk about this? And I'm here for like 2.5 years now saying, I had at least a theory of what causes it like this. Would anyone like to talk about it? Maybe dig in deeper and see if you
I
can
definitely
debunk
like the idea where you're talking about how the dragon took Yeshua onto the great mountain.
Yeah.
And even on a flat earth, it's really hard to see anything on a smaller mountain. You know what I mean? So that's very, very good.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Yeah, even if there was a mountain as tall as the Himalayas inside of Judea that Satan took Christ to, he still wouldn't have been able to see as far as Turkey.
Still have to be a supernatural kind of encounter.
Right. Yeah.
This is just a side topic, but did all the lands used to be more connected at some point, and maybe not so spread? Because you know what I mean? If you think about there's waters in between, it's just
maybe before the flood.
Because if he was able to get on that one mountain and he saw it all, like, which could be the spot you're talking about, but like was all land actually more of a puzzle, and it was connected. And then after the floods or something, it broke apart.
So in the book of First Enoch, there's a passage where Enoch has a dream about the coming flood. And
Yeah.
part of that dream shows not only the piece of the firmament breaking off, but
Yeah.
the land itself, some parts of the land sinking down really deep and other parts being raised up really tall.
Interesting. Yeah.
So I would suggest, and this is what we're, spoiler alert, this is what we're including in the World of Our Days of Noah animated series, is that
Awesome.
there are not the massive oceans that we have today, because there wasn't the massive undulations for the oceans to fill in there, but it was more of a world that's connected with rivers. And then the exterior, as Jubilees 2 talks about, is more covered with water.
Great oceans.
Yeah.
So although the land was more compacted from a topographical standpoint, whereas now we have a bunch of water in between the high elevated areas. So
I also think there wasn't these great mountains like the Himalayas before the flood.
Right.
Our Father knows that we can't breathe up there, so why would he have
Right.
Makes sense.
Yeah, exactly. This is why I put forward in my theory from all the things I put into the Vestigian Babylon series, is that's why the angels had to help Christ after the third temptation, after he was up that high mountain, was because he had to actually get down. So there was all the other temptations that they didn't help him, but that third one they did. So anyway, just some food for thought, because I think that that is one of the massive indicators in the heliocentric model for their proofs. They use eclipses. The whole world goes crazy. They let kids out of school. They teach kids how to make those little like double blind glasses so you don't stare at the sun and go blind. They teach kids how to stare at the shadows. They're having a watch party 3 days up to the eclipse. Like, the world goes crazy for these eclipses, right?
Yeah.
And that seems really odd. Like, there's, it's like, why would you do that? They don't go crazy for stellanelions, which is,
I don't even think they go.
Have you seen the movie Apocalypto?
You the Mel Gibson one with the mind? Yeah.
Don't they, like, I don't remember. I might have seen just a little bit of it, or I don't know. I just remember they kind of worship the eclipse kind of thing, or something happened with eclipse. I don't know if in the ancient times, those times, they would worship eclipse. It would make sense if their god was there. That was their god.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They still worship the eclipse. That's the idea. That's why there's so much to do about it. That's why there's people crying, oh my goodness, it's the ring, the diamond ring. Look. They're just like having a freak out fest as they watch the eclipse happen, and it's all being televised on ABC, NBC, all the major broadcasts are making a big deal. Oh, the Great American Eclipse 2017.
Yeah,
and
give
I'm
me
just
$40 million and I'll make an awesome movie exposing,
That's funny. Yeah.
Absolutely.
The dragon's lair.
Yeah, I think that if you could get that out, that'd be amazing. So yeah, I have not heard another good theory.
Right.
I didn't go out trying to find the answer to what are eclipses on an FE model. I just realized, oh my goodness, that's what's causing the eclipses. That's why it's at a certain height and altitude, so that it covers the circumference of the sun from our perspective on the ground. That's why it only casts an 80-mile wide shadow and not half the Earth as it should if the moon was truly visually the same size, being 400 times closer according to the helio model. So I just thought it was fascinating to me that I thought people were going to, chew on it, dissect it, make fun of me, but actually I've actually heard nothing. So I even expected more backlash than I've got. So it's just been a weird thing.
Yeah, that's very
interesting.
Yeah.
But I also wanted to say, just going back to the film for a minute, I really enjoyed, I don't know, this is a little stuff, I guess, because this is stuff that sticks out to me. So I enjoyed this scene, not because of Mark. I love you, Mark, but not because of Mark, but because of your lighting. I was like, how did they get this consistent, awesome lighting in the daytime with all the different lighting that's coming into this? They're sitting right next to a window, which is much bright. I know this is like nerd stuff to me, but this is what's going through my mind as I'm watching this, because I do this when I watch all movies, by the way. I joke to my wife, I'm like, I should have been a director, I guess. I don't know. But like, this is all I think about when I see certain stuff. And you guys did a great job on this little cafe scene, and Mark is holding up a little FE model, which I thought was great, and a little firmament dome FE model. And this was a great scene, guys. Go check out the movie. Like I said, it's on FesiukFilms.com. make sure you go rent it today. And this, of course, is the behind the scenes. So this is what it looks like normally. But then you
I
guys,
think this had the other photo.
you guys made it look really good.
Yeah.
Well, it turned out that we had an overcast day, so it was constant light through the window, and it's a big window, so it's a big light source, and that's all. We didn't do anything.
Yeah, this is
It was
just in the
good
day.
placement.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was good. Good
We were
stuff.
very blessed with the lighting there.
You guys went to the gun range.
Oh, that was fun. I shot so many guns, guys.
Did you get to shoot guns too?
Actually, I should have. I was okay. At first, I thought about it, and then I was like, "Nah, I don't know if we'll have time." And then we had time, and they're like, "Just pick up a gun and shoot it." And I'm like, "I don't know. Am I supposed to?" And then after we left, I was like, "I should have shot a gun. I've never shot a gun before. Should have done at least once."
Yeah, I've shot some in the past, so I didn't really care to shoot.
Oh, I did.
I was trying to get the filming going,
That's
but
funny.
it was fun. Yeah, Otto was hitting those targets.
He was actually hitting the targets. Otto was.
Yeah, it was more than what's in the movie. He hit more than that.
Yeah, he just kept going at it. Boom,
Yeah,
boom,
he even
boom.
shot with the handgun and hit the target.
Oh, that's good.
It's harder to get the aim in.
Yeah,
The targets up close, or the ones against the hillside in the back?
farther one.
Far away.
He got the
Farthest
far ones.
Wow, awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a good shot there. And of course you guys discussed Coriolis with this whole concept here of her at the gun range.
Right.
And then this is that night scene I mentioned earlier on the beach, I guess, in Santa Monica area. And then she was filming across, I guess, the Santa Monica Bay, towards a Ferris wheel that they previously were on that side. And there's 70 feet of missing curvature from point A to point B.
At least it's probably more. I was generous with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just little margin for error. And then at the very end of the movie, this is Otto having a moment of reflection of everything he's been learning on his trip. And I thought it was a great little moment there. The overlays that you guys did with the voices and everything. And I thought it was good. It's really good, guys. I was super impressed. I think you guys did a great job with this. And like I said, if y'all haven't already seen it, go check it out. The link is in our video description below this video. You can click right on it, take you right to the website, and you can rent it tonight. You will not be disappointed. You won't be bored either.
Good. I like hearing that.
Yeah, no one gets shot from the gun at the gun range, but your preconceived indoctrination may get shot.
Oh,
so
funny.
you may bleed out all those lies and suddenly just start to learn the truth of this. So hopefully that's the goal. But guys, what was some of did y'all have any major challenges when you were trying to produce this?
I don't want to say
besides y'all thought it wasn't funded when it already was funded. But once you guys realized it was funded and you started actually in production, any major challenges or setbacks, or were you able to accomplish everything on budget and on target?
The scene that you're talking about with Mark, that was a challenge because we actually had, so the sound, we had to do some really tedious refining to the sound there because the sound where you hear the people in the background, it sounds really good now where you can still hear Mark, but we had an original coffee shop. So you do have to call and ask for permission to film at most locations. So a lot of those locations we did get the rights for. So we had an originally planned coffee shop. There was going to be nobody there. So it was going to be really quiet. Well, she ended up having something happen with the family or something like that. And literally the day before our shoot, she messages us and she's like, or calls us or something. And she says she can't do it. So we call that coffee shop that day before. And then we show up there. And because we didn't talk to them prior, we couldn't ask them to shut down the place.
Yeah.
Right.
So we ended up shooting there. And then as we were shooting there, it just kept getting busier
and
busier. And we're just like, you guys, make sure you talk really loud because, and it ended up working out.
Yeah.
So that could have been potentially difficult, but it ended up working out though. So
that's cool.
Yeah.
It was the most challenge we had. It was New York.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why it was such a drag. We had pretty much had this camera rig and then trying to hold that umbrella while Sarah's trying to make sure they're on point with what they're talking about. So she's like around them.
You might see me every once in a while out there listening, make sure everything's right.
And so in New York,
continuity. Sorry, I just want to add continuity when you're doing films is everything. You know what I mean?
Definitely we needed probably need a little bit more hands-on in New York City too. And so that's where if I'd go back, I would change some things, like even lighting wise. I'd want to light some like the subway the subway, whatever it's called,
Train station.
Train station. I would like to light that up.
It was
that Grand Central?
Grand
yeah,
Central,
yeah.
So it's just stuff like that, you know.
Yeah.
Every film you're like always trying to, I would do this differently, I would do that differently.
Well, what makes this different anyways is when you're on a low budget and you're trying to make this happen on low budget, you only have a certain amount of time to do it. Like I said, like sunset was so early that day, you know, so as soon as sunset was gone, we had to work with what we had. You know what I mean? And it's a documentary, so you don't get to set the stage. The stage is already set for you. And then if you have a minimal light or two, that's all you have. Yeah. You know, so it's just totally different.
We had Dave taking a train from Connecticut down the same day and leaving the same day. And then we're trying to save on costs, so we had Otto fly in and fly. He flew in
the very morning of the shoot. Yeah,
and then flew out the next day, but get him right on board and start shooting that day.
And it's a good thing it was all good weather, because actually we were filming in the winter season pretty much, right? So there could have been snow, anything. We're just the day before, we're always praying about it. Weather be good, you know, Otto show up. Everyone else, we're gonna make it. We always made sure we arrived a day early. Yeah, we made sure that. So we were always there.
New York, we drove to New York because it was more cost efficient to drive, and we had Otto fly, because when it comes to flying, you gotta think about all the bags that we have to carry with the gear, and those things add up. So like Allegiant Air is pretty cheap, but if you get bags, it just gets up and up and up.
Yeah.
So we're trying to fly as least as possible, and then the whole trip to Seattle, LA, we want to do it all at once and get out of the way, not fly back and forth. And that's why we're considering doing the series at once. We can save cost on especially travel, because it's so expensive.
Yeah, we're going to be doing foreign travel too. It's not going to be just in America. Yeah. So
awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. And you said that's going to be like an extenuation of this documentary.
Yeah, you're pretty much going to follow Otto's journey with finding truth. He found his first little, nugget, and now he wants to go and figure out more things. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Oh, speaking of, if we do end up doing it, we want to get you on board to do, especially when it comes to like the Giants, because you have a lot of really good meat there with knowledge.
Okay.
So if we end up doing it and you're able to, then that'd be great to have you on board.
Okay. Yeah.
No pressure.
No pressure on the live stream.
And there's
that's fine. Just let me know. Yeah.
There's other topics that we want to bring up if we do it. That probably need also some, collaboration per se.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. We try to talk about all the toe-stepping controversial topics that angers everybody as much as possible. That seems to be our thing. Not intentionally, but it just happens. We're just like, oh yeah, you don't believe in giants. It's a unique thing to see how far so many Bible-believing Christians in the United States have kind of veered away from what the Bible actually talks about.
Yeah.
So it's, we try to do it with sensitivity.
It's because people go to church once a week, and if they're listening, they'll get something. And then the rest of the week, they're in their 9 to 5s or on the news, or their kids are in 5 days a week of school or indoctrination, whatever you call it. So who's teaching who, where they're getting their information from? And that's why society just went.
Yeah. Yeah. Was it Stalin? Was it Stalin that said, give me one generation of your kids and I'll have, the future's mine, or something like that?
One of those bad guys.
Yeah. One of the bad guys said that. 20th century.
That's why a Rockefeller guy wanted to have a mainstream educational system and control it, and he didn't care, because he knows if he controls the school system, he can control the minds.
Yeah,
it's one of the Rockefeller sons.
Yeah, we are. Well, I just want to, encourage you guys keep striving on, because I'm happy to hear that this was a seemingly complication-free production, and I hope that you guys get tons and tons of views on this video. I hope that you do find the right distributor that works well for your vision and doesn't try to suppress you guys. And I just pray that Father gives you guys wisdom and dealing with those contracts, and making sure that you guys are always protected, because we've seen what they've tried to do with this info. You guys probably well aware that the realm that y'all stepped into with producing something this high quality that people won't just easily turn off. And so therefore they've got to suppress how many people that see it. But there are things that get out there, and you guys know it's year 2, 3, 4 is the big years usually for things like this. I mean, I don't know how many amazing videos, documentaries, or TV shows that I found after season 1. And I was just like, how did I not hear about this? This is amazing, you know?
Yeah.
But it's just the way it goes. It's that marketing concept. People have to hear it a certain amount of times before, it really sets in. So I pray the best for you guys. I pray that y'all can accomplish everything you're trying to do, because it is a battle that we're in, and it takes all types in this type of effort. It's not just like the wits it gets it's willing to go out on the street and talk with people with a mic. It's also people that are willing to do what you guys have done. You've taken the information, you've condensed it into what you feel is impactful and effective for mass reach, to get people thinking, and then you have to have your own battle to go out there and get it seen by the people. And so, guys, I just want to encourage everyone watching, go ahead, support people like this. I mean, this is how you change the culture. It's not by saying, oh, I don't want to support this, but you're going to continue to pay $15 a month to Netflix to watch all the junk. Like, please check them out. Go to the websites in the video description below. Watch the trailer for it if you want on the YouTube channel. Consider renting it tonight, and that way you can enjoy a wonderful, truth-filled documentary that you could feel confident sharing with your friends and family.
Yeah, thank you.
Also, if you want to pray for good distribution, and if you guys are fasting people, you can do that as well.
Yeah, you have to go to fast and pray to find a good. So the average person doesn't understand what you just said, right? So like, they don't get it that just because you make a movie doesn't mean anybody's going to see this, right? You have to find distribution for people to go out there and share it. If a distribution company offered to get you guys into theaters, is that on your plan as well? Would you like that as well?
Oh man, that would be awesome.
I mean, it'd be great, but I don't think it's a theater movie per se. I think it's more of a streaming type of movie.
Yeah.
Okay.
But if they do, I'll do it. I'll take.
I'll definitely take it.
But our main goal is to get it out there to as many non-flat earthers as possible.
All I know is if the AMC theaters are playing Bollywood movies, they can clearly play your guys' movie. Come on now. Come on now. Like, this is, it's a fight, guys. But I just want to encourage you, and this is like the best fight to be in, right? It's not like we're fighting. It's not like we're fighting DC versus Marvel. This is this is truth versus lies. So it's definitely the best fight to be in. So, but guys, as we wrap up, is there anything that you'd like to say, or you'd like to announce or talk about before you go?
Just the same stuff. The reason why it's for sale right now is to show viewership, paid viewership for the distributors. And that every dollar counts, everything helps, every view counts, because we're gonna calculate the views that we get from here, as well as the ones we got at the premiere and the film festivals. The ones we got accepted to one so far, and if other ones decide,
which is amazing, guys, so far.
Especially with this topic, it's hard. There's a lot of bias. There's a couple that rejected us, and one of them for sure. I looked at their lineup of documentaries, and it should have been in there. Let's put it that way. And I'm not being biased about it. I was being real, but. So it's a hard thing to do, but all that stuff we're going to calculate and present a business plan to the distributors. Like, hey, this is how many people we can reach. This is how many, what we've reached. And the more people watch it, the better we'll get more likely we'll get a deal. So that's kind of how it is. Awesome. And if you want to see more projects like this as well, then you can donate. And that will help with that.
Yeah. Go bump up this number, guys. Help them get up to this number,
right?
And because this is what it's going to take, because think about it. Like, if you're trying to talk to somebody about something that's impactful, specifically something that they deal with in their everyday life. I mean, every news story is part of their taxes go towards this type of propaganda that's going towards non-truths. And these people have been indoctrinated since birth into this narrative. And if you are trying to talk to your friends or family about a topic like this with memes, it only goes so far. So these folks have, went above and beyond to put together a high quality, well done film that your friends and family can sit back and watch and not be affrighted by, and not be put off by, and actually be engaged with. And you don't have to sit there and explain your meme that you made. You can actually let them explain with high quality film. And so definitely go support this project.
Yeah, thank you, Sean.
Yeah. Yeah, it's important. We got to support what we do. Otherwise, none of us will be able to do it.
And after you support this, you can support Days of Noah.
That's there you
awesome.
go. That's right.
Actually, you can just support them together.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, who knows? Maybe in the future, you know, in the Days of Noah episode, Fesiuk Films could be have an advertisement in the Days of Noah episode.
Yeah. Just give me a voice role, okay? I got to use my.
You got to get that free anime thing going.
Now you know I can act.
There you go. So there are a lot of there are going to be a lot of characters to voice, and just in the first season alone, there's over 40 characters. But we're going to have, Lord willing, we'll have 8 seasons, so there'll be lots of characters. So yeah, I'll keep that in mind. Absolutely.
I'm just trying to be funny.
I mean, if you want to, I'll keep that in mind.
I'll take it too. It's just kind of being funny.
Yeah, if you want your name in the credits.
David can do voice.
How dare you?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Funny.
If you pull out your best anime voice.
Okay.
And the women, we won't have any women in there doing the little you know, like if you ever watch a Japanese anime and it's just like these high pitched squeals from the female characters.
Yeah.
And you're just like, what are they doing? They're just like giggling at like an octave C. And you're like, what is going on there? So we won't have any of that. You'll get to use your normal speaking voice. And yeah, it's gonna be great. But you know, ironically, the first episode is not even going to have a female voice in there because it's at a battle scene and none of the women are there. So because it's not the 21st century, they're not putting women at the forefront of the battle. So
there's a reason for that.
Yeah, it's going to be definitely a trad film. But guys, y'all are awesome. Appreciate you coming on doing this tonight, and please stay in touch so you can keep me updated and how things are progressing towards the series you're trying to create. And I just wish you well. I thank you for coming on.
Thank you.
Sean.
Take care.
Bye, guys.
And thank you, everyone, for being here. Be sure to give this a like. Go check out their websites in the video description below. All right. We'll see you guys next time.
Bye.
Ciao.